The Fed's now banning TikTok on U.S. government devices following the lead of more than a dozen states that banned it on official devices over privacy and security concerns. China expert Gordon Chang explaining why it's a smart move.
TikTok is owned by ByteDance. ByteDance, although nominally private, is a Chinese company. Every Chinese company is under a compulsion to spy. That's because of the Communist Party's top-down system. And so clearly, no matter what protections we try to build in, ByteDance is under that compulsion to commit espionage. So we've got to recognize that.
Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis is a Republican on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congresswoman, thank you so much for being here. Before we get started, I want you to take a listen to something that former National Security Advisor to President Trump, Robert O'Brien, said.
This is a real security threat for the U.S. And more than just the tracking and the personal data and the geolocating of our American citizens, they're using the algorithms to drive divisions in this country, to polarize us and to pull us apart as people. And we need to get rid of this thing. It's worse than a Trojan horse.
How effective do you think a ban on federal devices is really going to be?
Well, I think it is important, particularly for the national security and cybersecurity of our country. That's why you saw the military and all the branches of the military 2 years ago take this action, and it was followed by Department of Homeland Security, and it makes sense that the next logical step is to prohibit it on all federal devices. I think the real discussion will be in the next Congress on whether we ban this platform overall in the United States. There are 100 million American users of TikTok. We know this is something that President Trump wanted to do before he left office. And I think it's not just an issue of national security and cybersecurity. It is the the gathering of personal information, everything from your communications to your contact lists to your likes and your dislikes are being tracked. And as was mentioned by Gordon Chang, this information would be required, if requested, to be turned over to the Chinese Communist Party. And that is the true concern here. That's not just that information gathering also, but it is the dissemination of false information. That's the way the Communist Party controls its population. We can't allow that here in the United States. It threatens our way of life, and it is a security concern for that reason. In fact, Senator Marco Rubio brought up how it was used in the midterm election, how they did post articles under the guise of a legitimate news agency that attacked American politicians here prior to November's election.
Well, you mentioned the 100 million users here in the United States. Most of those users are under 20. Most people under 20, and I speak from experience, I have a household full of teenagers, don't listen when you tell them that this is a danger and that their privacy is at stake here. I've tried having this conversation in my household, and the answer from the kids in my household, very small sample, but it was, they already have our information. They don't care. What do we do about that?
Well, look, I think that, parents care, and certainly the United States government cares that the Communist Chinese is having this information, which is why I think the real debate next year will be if there should be a total ban. The reality is that China is the greatest threat to the United States, to our democracy, to our way of life. It's not just TikTok and social media, right? If you look at what they're doing with pumping fentanyl into Mexico that then crosses into our country, getting young people addicted and killing Americans. When you look at the purchasing of farmland, they are trying to influence even our food supply. That is a problem as well. When you look at the way that they have censored information, that they have falsified information relating to COVID, not allowing us to investigate the origins, playing a role in international organizations like WHO, like the United Nations. China is a great threat. We need to take it seriously. And I think holding China accountable, finding the origins of the COVID, tackling these issues, whether it be the cybersecurity issues using sources like TikTok or going after these purchases of our farmland near military installations, are all going to be hot topics in Congress come January.
You mentioned former President Trump, and he did want to ban TikTok. He was criticized. He was completely blown off. And now in the years that have followed, hasn't China already been able to harvest enough information, even if there was a complete ban here?
Sure. Well, I imagine a lot of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle thought it was a bad idea simply because it was introduced by President Trump. But as you see, there's now bipartisan support for the action that was taken. There were bills that had bipartisan sponsorship, letters that had been written regarding this issue. It had been brought up in various hearings in the House. So it is a legitimate threat, and it has to be taken seriously. And you're right. There has been a lot of information that has been garnered. And it's with any media device, right? Whenever, like, if you don't think Alexa is listening to everything you're saying in your house, or that Google is sharing information on what you're searching, all you need to do is sit there and talk while your phone is there, and you'll see all of a sudden ads for those things being brought up on your news feed on Twitter and Facebook. So it really is a big privacy issue that I think needs to be addressed.
We do pay a price for all that progress. Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, thank you so much.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.